to call this meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. I will entertain an order from Councilor Bacon to suspend the rules.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules that Carmen Ocasio, City Councilor, joins us to make the quorum so that we can start the meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to take up item 1 and open the public hearing. You can second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The item 1 was is a public hearing, special permit application of Blue Fox Brands Incorporation for an adult use cannabis manufacturing, non-chemical extraction establishment at 1 Cabot Street. With us, we have Ezra, I believe, right? Correct?
Correct.
And do we have anybody else with us that are representing Blue Fox Brands?
Yes, we have one or two representatives, Steve Kusis, who is the attorney for Blue Fox, and Costa Marcellus, who is president. Costa may not be, oh, there he is, yep.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, thank you. So just for the sake of introductions, I would say you guys, Ezra, we're familiar with you, but in case someone's watching on TV that is not, introduce yourself and have Costa introduce himself. And if anyone else is with us, introduce yourselves, and then you can go on with the presentation of the project. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Ezra Parzybach. I am in Northampton, Massachusetts, based in Northampton, Massachusetts. I'm a consultant for Blue Fox Brands, and will be presenting their project this evening.
I'm Steve Kusis, General Counsel. I don't know if you can see me. Something's wrong with my camera. Hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you.
We can.
I'm Costa Marcellus. I'm the CEO of Blue Fox Brands.
Should we get his address?
Can we have your addresses just for the sake of practice, right? Every time someone presents, we usually ask for their addresses anyways, so just in case.
Yeah. So my Costa Marcellus, my address is 1289 Creek Point in Rochester, Michigan.
Steve Kusis, 1985 West Big Beaver, Suite 210, Troy, Michigan.
And I'm 30 Norwood Avenue in Northampton, Mass.
Thank you. You may begin with the presentation.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. I'm disabled, Jeffrey, so when you get a
Jeffrey,
chance.
have to let him share.
Should be all set.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, hopefully I can present my full-size screen here. Mm-hmm. And you can still see me. Can everyone still see my full-size screen?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So this is Blue Fox Brands. They are a established cannabis, licensed cannabis business with operations in Michigan, as well as California, Colorado. So very established. They're entering into Massachusetts. They've chosen Holyoke as a good spot to do it, and are going to be at 1 Cabot, which already hosts at least 4 other cannabis companies. This will be the second largest operator in the building with 22,000 square feet. This company is a repackaging company. So basically taking cannabis flower that has been ground up for packing pre-rolls. They also do white labeling or just placing labeling on for other brands. They also fill vape cartridges. So there won't be any chemical extraction. This requires no C1D1 explosion-proof room. There's no trimming machines that are generating a lot of particulate. As you remember from True Leaf, large-scale trimming can release a lot of particulate into the air. They will not be cultivated cultivating, and it is not a public business. So this is a wholesale B2B business, so no retail sales and no public access. So if you're familiar with the building and the site, this is the master site plan, and showing Blue Fox Brands here in yellow, which is right behind, just to sort of orient people. Cabot Street is right here. This is how you enter the building site. This is, some of you may know, the new location of a retail that's going to go in. The requirements for this building require one parking spot for every 4 employees. Blue Fox intends to hire 20 currently, so this would require 5 spots. Now, I've put a demonstration of where Blue Fox parking could go. There is no designation in terms of the master plan of this building, however, so spots will be used by they will park in the spots available. But the calculations as far as all the operators in this building are still allowing for ample parking. Now, as you drive in, employees park here. There is an entrance to the entire facility, which is for employees over here. The bike rack area is going to be here for anyone who can commute via bike. The building here is the shared sally port, the secure sally port for cannabis delivery and pickup for the entire site. And this is a business that requires, very entry-level labor. So, there's residential areas in the flats nearby, and we're, really setting a goal of at least 80% just coming from the neighborhood there. So there's going to be a lot of outreach specifically for Holyoke residents. Marijuana waste, there is a shared dumpster, so you can compliantly share a cannabis waste dumpster with multiple operators according to state regulations. So multiple operators already share a dumpster, which also goes in this area. It's a 40-yard dumpster. It's quite substantial. And then there's also a standard waste dumpster as well. And so Blue Fox will utilize those 2 dumpsters along with other tenants in the building. I just wanted to give you a visual reference of here's the building. Here's Cabot Street, grocery stores right down here, and canal goes right here. Over here is GTI, Rise Holdings Incorporated, GTI. And as most of you know, the public parking lot is here that GTI uses. So in the event that, parking is challenging, of course, this public lot with ample parking is just down the road. Okay, this is a visual just to show entrance into the building, security, things like that. So here's a better view showing the dumpster pad is right here. There's another dumpster on this side. This loading dock is for material goods, so packaging, supplies, things like that will come in through here. Employees enter through here. And then it has nice flow to it. So the red represents the packaging materials and just non-cannabis materials that will come into Blue Fox brand space. Employees will walk down the shared hallway, will go by public restrooms, but they actually will have their own restrooms inside their facility. They enter through here. As product and processes move through the space, it then eventually goes into a vault and will be carted out through the shipping dock and loading dock area. So they're on the 2nd floor, which ends up being almost the ground floor on this side of the building, but in the back of the building, it slopes down. So an elevator is taken. Sorry for the, in fact, I did want to apologize for not being in person today. I do try to come to ordinance meetings in person, but I'm in New York at the moment, which you can probably hear in the background. So the product will all go here. And One Cabot is really working on this multi-tenant, multi-cannabis tenant model. So there is shared surveillance throughout the entire shared hallways. All product is locked in bins and brought with two agents through the whole process, and both inside and exterior of the facility, as well as exterior of the building, is fully on surveillance. We did, in fact, the Ordinance Committee may have read a report from the Planning Board that we were waiting on approval letter from Holyoke Police Department, but I did send that letter, the approval letter, earlier to Jeff Burkott in Planning. So we also do have written approval for security and safety. Okay, so this is just a interior view of what their facility would look like. So this is a very large, around 13,000 square foot single room, just a big open room. It doesn't have columns, so it's just a wide open room. And then this is sort of the back storage area room. So here, got these labeled. I don't know if you can clearly see it, but here's an admin office and a couple admin offices here. As you can see, the employees enter, and this is their break room and bathrooms are right here. And then these are all the stations. So there's a station, you can see here, a capping station for putting vape carts together. This is a pre-roll area for their machinery that packs the pre-rolls. This is pre-roll painting, which is actually an infusion process. Once a pre-roll is made, you can actually just paint literally with paintbrushes. So it's not a spraying process. It's not putting chemicals into the air, but you can infuse it essentially with flavors and different terpenes or aromas. Here is labeling area, more labeling, and a refilling. So a filling of a vape cart area. So this is all big open floor plan, much like a traditional light manufacturing space. Then back here is all storage of plastic bottles and glass containers, things like that. And there's actually 3 vaults. So vault here, a vault here, and vault here. So they store different products in vault, and then it goes out. I do have some visuals. So this is just some actual images of their production area in Michigan. So as you can see, it's just no major heavy machinery. The music that they play for employees is the loudest thing in the room. As you can see, the employees do wear masks. They wear PPE for working with the product. And here's a station where you just see labeling of pre-roll containers. So pretty basic. And then odor control, I like to address thoroughly, and they have a pretty good system. I don't know if you guys have seen pictures before, but this is very much the industry standard. These essentially are large carbon filters. Fans suck air in from the room through these carbon filters, which take out the odor and refilter the air, so the air is continually refiltering. And then here's a floor filter as well, another additional filter that draws air from the top, filters it, and puts it back into the room. So the air is continually filtered as well. And that is basic presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Since it's a public hearing, first I would like to be sure that anyone in the public be recognized and allow for them to speak. No one currently in person. If there's anyone online, feel free to raise your hand, so that way your box comes to the front. I don't see anybody's hands raised at the moment, so I'll open the floor to the counselors that are actually present at the moment. Counselor McGrath-Smith.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I just have a few questions. My first is around, I saw that you were planning to hire from within the neighborhood. Can you walk us through what your plan is to be able to hire from the neighborhood and what that means to you and what groundwork you've laid in order to start that process?
Thanks. Good question. I will let Costa and Steve answer this more in depth if they have information to add. This process has not started yet just because we are, just to give you a timeline, we're in special permit, obviously. They do currently hold a provisional license. And there is a process with the state that goes through architectural review, preliminary inspections, a final license vote, and then secondary inspections before they have commence operations.
Mm-hmm.
So because that process takes several months, there's not been any commencement of hiring activities. As far as hiring online, when you use programs like apps like Indeed.com, you can really focus it by both towns and neighborhoods. So if we wanted to hire specifically from Holyoke, we would target those ads only to the city of Holyoke first to gather a whole swath of resumes. Typically, the industry is still very robust in Massachusetts, so you might have a single position. What I found, typically a single position will garner usually 15 to 20 inquiries per position. So that right there will gather a lot of potential resumes. And then as far as working in Holyoke and making sure we're working with locals here, we're going to have to go, and I advise other people as well, to work with E for All, the Holyoke cannabis classes. There's I think they call it Educate Holyoke. It's through the Holyoke Community College, and the other, there's other couple nonprofits in town that their mission is working with adults on training and entrepreneurial education, like E for All. So we would reach out to those groups as well and really try to focus on hiring locally. If Costa and Steve have anything to add, feel free.
I think that's pretty, you hit it right on the spot there. Like in Lansing, we employ, I think currently we're at 113 people, and I would want to say that 93% of our workforce are all from Lansing, and we do all the above that Ezra mentioned. We try to hire within the city. We chose Holyoke because we believe it's one of the I guess there's a lot of workforce available, so we need actually employees, right, to perform our tasks. And this is one of the cities we had in mind from day one. Steve and I were looking at the location, and we said, Holyoke, right? And here we are. So.
Do you have any other questions, Madam Chair? Yeah, I can follow up real quick, just for clarification, Ezra. E for All is, yes, an entrepreneurship starting point for people that are starting small businesses, but not necessarily for people that are in search of employment. So that would be more of a mass hire thing, mass hire Holyoke, as well as in Springfield. I think they have Springfield Works and Mass Hire, and we also have New England Farm Workers, and there's a variety of different other nonprofits in the community that do that. But yes, to speak to some of the Holyoke Community College programs that they have that are training people mostly on growing and bud tending, but it doesn't sound like that's what they kind of need for this particular role here. Here, it seems like it's already put in a box where you're either filling up the vape pens or changing labels or filling up what are we calling the joints that are pre-rolls. So the bud tending piece and all that other aspect is not necessarily needed. I think the question, because I heard from you guys that I have, is you guys said trying to reach 80%. By ordinance, I think we're at 30%, right? Hopefully it's suggested by 30%. So it was a great question that Councilor Meg McGrath Smith asked with regards to how we're going to try to employ from the community, mostly because, like you mentioned, Ezra, this is in the Flats and South Holyoke community, and these are the neighborhoods that more or less would benefit from having these type of employment opportunities within their neighborhoods where they could just walk to the spots. But yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on that. Any other counselors have anything else to add? Counselor Vacan?
Thanks. Ezra, do you mind walking us through the parking? Because if I'm remembering this site properly, they were going to develop that master plan, right? So based on your comment at the beginning of your presentation, it sounds like it's first come, first serve, but when you put everything all together that is cited there, there's adequate for everybody. Did I understand that accurately?
You did understand that accurately, but I think I agree with you, Linda, Councilor Vacan. If your gut tells you that it seems challenging that all of these facilities would have enough parking, I'm always scratching my head too. But when they walk me through the calculations, basically the way the engineers have calculated the parking requirements based on the ordinance is that each floor of this building can have a certain number of employees as far as their certificate of occupancy. When you take the total number of each floor and you apply it to the stipulation that says there must be at least one spot for every 4 employees, there's, I believe, somewhere between 38 and 42 spots altogether. That number of spots is compliant with the building requirements. So because the landlord who essentially designates parking and is in control of that in terms of the lease, he has fulfilled his code obligations in terms of the spots required and the calculation in terms of total building employees, regardless of how many different tenants there are. And therefore he says, okay, we fulfill those rules and I'm not going to designate specific spaces so that people can use the spaces that are available. And if you go to the site now, in order to organize the parking somewhat, for example, the retail has a few of the spots, if you can still see my cursor here, they actually have a reserved sign here as well as here. So the landlord did want to make sure that public traffic coming into the site to stop at the retail store know that they have designated parking so that they don't have to go all the way in back and then walk to the front of the building. So he's allowed that designation to happen there. The rest of the parking will be organic. It's challenging to know exactly where people are going to park, but the math does work.
All right, well, thank you for that clarification. And then I don't know if the chair, do you want to run down what planning sent over? I don't know how many open questions they had. Unless, Ezra, do you just want to address anything that was open in the letter from planning dated May 31st?
Yeah, and if I can pull that up, I believe. I believe the primary
It's the third page from
issue was the not having a letter from the police for approval of security, but
okay, yeah, that was one piece, and we have that in our packet now from Chief Pratt for the security and safety.
oh, you do? Okay, great. Okay,
Yes.
okay, good. All right, I pulled up the letter, so we let me get down to their recommendations here.
Third from the back. Because you did mention that you have the provisional license, right? I just didn't see it in the packet, but I might have missed it.
Yeah, just to clarify that, that is a good question, actually. The state rules allow for companies to hold licenses that can be bought and sold. So in an effort to just move through the process more expediently, Blue Fox has purchased a license from another entity that was already in Holyoke. And so that license number leaves that other entity and becomes the property of Blue Fox Brands. And then the process with the state is that you get that ownership approved, and you get the location changed. So
Okay.
wasn't a requirement of the special permit to submit that ownership change, but I'm
It's just-
happy to provide it to the board. But that's been approved by the state, so they already hold that provisional license.
Oh, okay, all right. I just hadn't heard of the sale of the license before, so that's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
but, okay.
Yeah, it causes confusion with like the host agreement and who holds that. But essentially, now that Blue Fox Brands holds that license number, Blue Fox Brands has a provisional license. They still have to go through architectural review. All of this architectural plan and site plan and special permit, as well as building permits, have to be submitted for review by the state, and inspections have to occur. So they still have to go through that process, but they hold the paperwork that leads up to that provisional license.
Okay. And not that I would ask you to go into great detail on this, because I don't necessarily think it's appropriate, but we've been having some discussion about the host agreements with all the changes going on throughout the state and the issues that have come up.
Correct.
And so I see that you have signed a host agreement. And so I was just interested to know how much it differs from the earlier ones, because I know you've been involved all along the way here. So if you could share briefly, not to any huge degree, any key changes?
Yes, absolutely. So the process has been that the city of Holyoke has previous HCAs with entities. They submitted those HCAs to the state. The state is, as of March 1st, is now reviewing HCAs. If they deem them to be non-compliant, they request the city updates those. In an effort to expedite the process, because the city solicitor in Holyoke has been frustrated, rightly so, that the state doesn't really list what is at issue with the host agreement, the city has decided to go with the model HCA, which just allows the CCC to see that, okay, the city is going with the one that we've written ourselves, and so it makes it easier to approve. So as Blue Fox Brands holds that new provisional license and has to have a host agreement for this location, I believe what you're seeing is that it has now gone to essentially the model HCA. So what it's looking like, just in general, just for the ordinance, so that you're aware, I'm happy to answer other questions, but as each entity in the city of Holyoke has their HCA up for renewal, for their annual renewal, or is up for expiration of their renewal, the city is just going to a model HCA. For social equity applicants, there seems to be a general consensus that they're going with the second option, which is a waiver of an HCA.
Okay. So does that, and I'm making an assumption in my question, but does that mean that you are now relieved from mitigation fees from the early days? Or are there?
No, that's a good question. I should have mentioned that, because that's kind of one of the essential things. So essentially, the state law 94G was amended by the legislature over the last couple of years to make sure that it's following the original intent of the law, which is, if there are impacts reasonably associated with a cannabis entity, the city may collect fees in order to cover those impacts up to 3% of the gross revenue of an entity. So that was in the original law. And then many towns interpreted that as, oh, great, we'll take 3% of their gross revenue. So the CCC has said, actually, it's up to 3% if you can prove that there are impacts reasonably related to the specific entity. So there's still some debate there. However, the model HCA does still say if there are impacts that are reasonably related to the operations of individual entities, cannabis entities in the municipality can still collect up to 3%. So it's just a slight change. The previous HCA said we will collect 3% of gross. So now it just says we may collect up to 3%.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for being willing to get into that depth with us.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Ocasio.
I have two questions, and it's based on traffic and parking. On the traffic, since you're gonna have extra people coming in there, would that be a problem to us in our ward, especially in South Holyoke and Ward 2, because it's a residential area, and in that area is on South Canal and Cabot Street is already congested enough. So by you opening this facility in that section, it's going to be even more congested. So in order to, what are your plans to try to avoid some of that congestion?
Yeah, thank you. It was a bit of an oversight that I didn't more explicitly explain that in my little presentation. Basically, when I submitted to this for the special permit, what our traffic plan would be, we looked at the calculations, and this is what there has been more substantial traffic plans on previous special permits for this whole building, and the number of vehicles that are on that Cabot Street and Canal corridor, which you're absolutely right, does get quite congested. It's in this magnitude of several thousand cars per day. So when you say add a entity, a new business that employs an additional, even let's go to the number of entire parking spaces at the facility. So in addition of say 40 vehicle trips going in there and filling up those spots. So this is what the entire building has allotted in terms of the code. Those 40 extra trips a day in the morning and 40 leaving in the afternoon are still a percentage of that total volume of traffic of say 5,000 cars that is less than less than 1%, into the fraction of 1% of change of traffic. So what you'll find if you go into that building is, especially at peak hours, so rush hour, as you're turning in and turning in from Cabot Street and out of the facility onto Cabot Street, it's congested, and an individual will experience wait time, or they might have to wait a full light for that traffic to disperse before they can turn into the street. But as an overall traffic impact, we're still looking at a very, very tiny fraction of a percentage of change of the overall traffic.
You would think, right? Because I do live in South Holyoke, nearby the area where you guys are planning on opening, and that's very congested. I'm talking about a lot, and adding more traffic is going to be more chaos. I mean, we can't even get through sometimes to even get to the next street. It's like it's really bad. So if you're gonna, because we have a lot of traffic coming in from Chicopee also. So you have in and out from Holyoke and Chicopee. Okay, so that's a lot of traffic. I mean, we be stuck there for a minute or two, and people that are trying to cross over, on the side streets can't get through either. So if you guys gonna be coming out of the Cabot Street side, that's gonna be it's gonna be a problem. But if you guys making the exit, the entering through the Ward 1, which is Jenny's ward, on the other side, which is not like over the train track in that section, you know, it'll relieve some of the congestion on the Cabot side. You know, I mean,
I agree.
I've been living in San Jose for 49 years, so I know the ins and outs of that section. And right now, it's very, very bad. It's so congested that, you know, there have been a few accidents there. One guy had got killed there also, you know, riding his bike. You know, so, I mean, putting, you know, everybody beautify everything the way, you know, perfect or whatever, but they forget that area is a residential area. And there's people that live there, and there's also kids that cross the street and all that. So more congestion in that little area towards Ward 2 is gonna become a problem. And when it do become a problem, I'm gonna be addressing it, you know, because
Litigation.
yeah, that's gonna be, it's gonna get hectic. I already know it, so. And then, about the parking, you said that if you need extra parking, you was gonna park on the, parking lot that is public on Ward 2, Ward 1.
For
So,
retail.
okay.
It's on Canal Street, correct?
Okay.
I'm not sure which ward that is, but it's
Yeah,
Canal Street.
It's in Ward 1. As long as that, the you know, for your retail parking or your employees' parking does not affect Ward 2, because that's a residential area and we need all our parkings, you know, you won't hear from me about that, you know, because we've been fighting for parking already. So, you know, I mean, between traffic and parking, I see it's gonna be very congested, so just keep that in mind.
Thank you, Councilor Ocasio. I recognize Councilor Bartley, who just walked in as well. And then I think for me, to piggyback some of off of what Carmen Ocasio, Councilor Ocasio was referring to with regards to parking and traffic. Ezra, when you're talking about the traffic being minuscule, is it just for that particular business? Is it just for this particular business when you're referring to that? Or is that incorporating every single business that's planning to move into that building?
That's a good question. So the little calculation or scenario I just painted was for the entire facility. So the idea that if every day, every single one of the parking spots that is available at that site represents a trip in and a trip out, that you're still minuscule. You're still in less than 1% change of the volume of traffic. In fact, it's even, I could do the calculation, but it is minuscule. And so I said that as an exercise to demonstrate that now we're talking about the special permit for this single entity, Blue Fox, which represents an even smaller, less than half of those total trips.
Yeah, the concern for me with regards to the parking and the traffic is not necessarily Blue Fox. I think, and this is obviously not Blue Fox's problem, the concern for me around parking and the traffic is around the building owner's situation that he got going on right now with all the businesses in there. Traffic will be a problem, although it is minuscule, because as mentioned, for the retail business piece, there's only 1 or 2 reserved parking spaces. And in my experience, while visiting Holyoke Cannabis and Canna Provisions, it's tough to find parking space just there alone, and they got like 8 or 9 spaces on each side. So if we're talking about 2 spaces for retail plus all that Cabot Street traffic, people waiting for a reserved space to be open, it does feel like it's going to be a catastrophe in a sense eventually down the road. So I think for us, maybe the councilors Ward 1 and 2 might want to file something to bring in this building owner to have this conversation about whether like you had mentioned, Councilor Ocasio, traffic going around the back. So that way we're not mitigating so much traffic going on Cabot Street. But again, this is not a Blue Fox problem. This is someone else's problem. If anyone else, Councilor Bartley, since you just arrived, anyone else has any questions for Blue Fox, feel free. Councilor Rivera and then Councilor Bacon. Oh, go ahead, Councilor Bacon.
So I was just going to point out that it sounded like there'd be about 10 extra trips from the parking directly related to this new tenant. And so even though it is congested down there, your schedule will probably be similar to just people coming in and going out at the beginning and end of a shift, I'm thinking, for the additional company. And then my other comment was just that that might be a reasonable thing relative not to this special permit alone, but to the combination of special permits for some mitigation around traffic that would be related to the businesses and then would be appropriate, so, yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I will just add that there are 2 shifts, which is something to think about, which is typically 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then 4 p.m. to midnight. So Blue Fox does have 2 shifts in their work schedule. So the midnight shift, the trips being represented by that evening shift will also be spread out from. It's not all happening right at the 5 o'clock rush hour.
Can I follow up on one more thing?
Sure, Councilor Bacon.
And then I guess, so your hours then would be 8 a.m. to midnight, and are you looking for them to be 7 days a week?
That is correct on the hours. As far as 7 days a week, I believe the answer is yes, but feel free to correct me, Kostev.
It's probably gonna be 5 to 6 days a week, 5 days, maybe a 6th day. We give everybody, typically we're off on Saturdays here and Sundays. We run 3 shifts in Lansing, and we typically don't run on Saturdays unless we really have to.
So for purposes of your special permit, though, are you sometimes open on a Saturday and sometimes open on a Sunday? So you would want the flexibility of being able to be open?
We would like to have it if we can. If it's a Sunday is probably like a cleaning crew day or, inventory day, or it's not really a production day. Saturday, if we're gonna run on Saturday, it's probably gonna be from 8 till, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right, but if we, in terms of the permit, if we say 8 a.m. to midnight and we do include 7 days a week, it would give you the flexibility perhaps that you
Correct.
need, unless you want to
Yeah.
be more specific.
No, that should be fine. What if we want to do a 3rd shift?
So there's a clause recommended to the committee by the planning board. And so once we issue a special permit, if you want to make small changes, sometimes those can just come in and be made as an amendment to the special permit. If
Okay.
there are substantial changes, then it requires a whole, new hearing and amendment to the permit.
So the reason is, we don't know, we're not sure how busy we're gonna get. We have kind of like an estimate to, we're trying to gauge the sales that we're doing here and the sales of Michigan, right, with the sales of Massachusetts. And we believe we could have a 3rd shift, but we're not sure yet. So I would like to have it in there, if possible.
Real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. Attorney Bissonnette, are you here with us? I mean, I see your name, but. Hey.
Oh, yes.
How you doing, bro?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
So I got a quick question with regards to a potential 3rd shift. I know we have ordinance around cannabis and closing at certain times with the businesses, but is that pertains specifically to retail, or is that to everyone?
Retail.
So if they wanted to do a third shift, overnight type of shift, could they kind of incorporate that into the special permit now? Well, I mean,
They
it's
could
already
if that's
filed.
the request and the council grants it, certainly.
All right,
Holyoke was built on 3 shifts.
okay. That's perfect. Thank you. Counselor Bacon, real quick, if you're all done. Okay, Counselor Rivera, and then I got you, Counselor Worley.
So I will echo on what Councilor Ocasio said. My biggest concern there is that is a traffic area for trucks. And then you also get a lot of PVTA buses that go and cross the bridge. So if you have somebody coming up Cabot Street towards the Willimantic Bridge and has to stop to turn in to your establishment, it's just going to create more and more traffic. And then if you get a bus that's stuck in the middle between Cabot and South Canal, it's going to create chaos. I would say coming out of your establishment down Cabot Street, taking a right, I don't think that would be so much an issue. There is going to be an issue with the traffic coming out and taking a left to cross the Willimantic Bridge. That would be another issue. I don't know if there's a way you can consider to go out the opposite way, go down the side of the canals and then down Appleton Street, which would be less traffic. But I feel in that area, the traffic is going to be really bad just because it's a lot of trucks that go by there, as well as the PVTA buses. So that's all I wanted to comment.
Thank you, Counselor Rivera. Counselor Bartley?
Yes, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Counselor. Thank you to the applicants for your potential investment. I'm looking forward to working with you. In terms of your application and your process to the planning board, we do have the letter from planning. Where does this? I'm here a little bit late. You probably already said it, but where are we with the planning board at this stage? Have they approved anything? Yes. They've approved everything?
Well, they just give a recommendation.
Okay, I have the recommendation letter. Okay, so there's no more steps of planning, correct?
No.
Yeah, and I saw the policing. So you'll look at the end and you'll notice a couple of recommendations on their behalf that we should probably incorporate. And I think that pretty much says what it would kind of cover what their concerns were. I don't really want to give a special permit where it's just 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to midnight, because it just seems like it's not organized. And you'll see the verbiage here, which the planning board put together. I think it makes complete sense, and the applicant should know this. They'll know way in advance when they want to have additional hours, and they'll know way in advance to come back and apply for an amendment to a special permit. And this also allows the city council the opportunity, especially the lower ward councilors, to really see what the effect of the traffic is at this point. If you just give them the special permit for 7 days, for 24 hours a day or whatever it is, it really doesn't have them come back too often. No, they can't come back. So I would rather, and if the applicant is okay with it, and I presume the applicant is okay with our standard conditions on the special permit. Did we talk about that?
We haven't gotten there
okay.
yet.
Okay, so I'm sure the chair will read off the standard conditions that we put together some years ago, and generally they're pretty familiar to most petitioners. And I do like the added conditions where the planning board. So let me just stop talking. To the petitioner, have you reviewed the planning board letter of May 31st? You're okay with it?
Yes.
Linda, I know they already did it, but I'm just here asking a question, Linda. I apologize. I was taking care of my mother, okay? All right. So, and to the petitioner, you're good to go with, are you familiar with the standard conditions that we put on our marijuana special permits?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I like that one-word answers. Those are good. Let me do the talking. Okay, and then finally, you'll be okay with us having the hours of operation pretty much structured to the way you originally wanted them? In other words, if I make a motion to say 5 days a week, and by the way, I thought we went to 11 p.m. We go to midnight?
11 p.m. is retailers.
11 for retail.
11 for retail.
But non-retail, you can go on to.
No, I heard that, but I thought I heard the counselor say 8 to midnight. I could have sworn I heard that.
That was probably an accident.
Okay, that was an error. All right, I thought it was an error.
But I mean, Councilor Bartley, if it's retail, it would be an error. But it's manufacturing, it's not. So it's kind of.
Yeah, so I was talking retail, and I thought the counselor. Okay, so we're just talking for manufacturing.
Yeah, manufacturing.
Got it. Okay, this is all very very helpful. So just the last piece, the hours of operation. You're okay with it being you're 2 shifts, and then Saturdays to 2 o'clock, and then what do we do on Sundays?
How about till 2 o'clock as well, just for a cleaning crew, if necessary?
Okay, then there you go. So 8 to 2 on Saturday and Sunday, and the rest of the week 8 to 12 a.m. Is that what I heard?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? So I guess Councilor Reagan.
So are you ready to read the
I was about to go over the
conditions?
conditions. Yeah.
So I just wanted to add, per the recommendation of the planning, that if in the event there are any proposed changes to the approved plans prior to their implementation, the applicant would be required to come back to City Council for review and approval and file as an amendment to the special permit.
So
just so it's understood.
We're adding that as one of the.
Yeah, and that's a sloppy copy from earlier.
No worries. So the 9 and 10 here are nothing then, right?
I crossed those off. I think they were specific to an application.
Okay. So what Councilor Bacon said, the first one, right? And then I'll read off the rest of the standard stipulations that we have, pretty much. Number 2, since Councilor Bacon read the first one, well, there we go. They're on here. That the owner of the building always pay the commercial property tax rate to the extent allowed by federal, state, and local laws for the duration of the special permit. That the business retains a minimum of 30%. That should be no problem. You guys are trying to shoot for 80. Holyoke residents for non-security jobs. That the hiring preference be given to security personnel that are retired Holyoke police or are a retired member of another police department that now lives in the city of Holyoke. There shall be no marijuana consumption allowed on site. That the hours of operation be Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 a.m., Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 2 a.m.
2 p.m.
2 p.m. Yes, yeah. I just typo. Scribner's error. That the applicant must abide by Massachusetts general law and guidance from the Cannabis Control Commission, and that the petition applicant shall conform with city and state health laws, rules, and regulations, including odor nuisance controls for the duration of the permit. That if substantial progress has not occurred within 2 years of issuance of the special permit, an extension shall be required. And does it list how long, when this extension, when's the deadline for the extension?
So there was a system recently set up because the extension period had just come up recently in the last couple of years.
Let's just leave it like
and
that.
And then the clerk's office coordinated with planning and they sent out the notices.
Okay.
So hopefully we're
So
pretty current. I would just note that Monday through Friday should be 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. Yeah.
I thought we said 11.
I think 12.
They have
12 is
two
fine.
shifts,
Yeah, 12 is
7
manufacturing, yes. Okay.
Well, that's what he said, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Midnight. I don't know.
Mr. Chair, I kind of like having those 1 through 8 the way it is, and could we just consider adding 2A and 2B on the 531 letter from planning to be 9 and 10? Is that okay? Does that work? Does that work for you?
That works.
Okay.
Jeff, did you get that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, perfect.
They were suggesting that we would use one of the two, which is why I just read the shorter one.
No worries. And it's so Ezra and the petitioners, as you guys can see it, hopefully right there on your screen. Are you guys okay with these standard stipulations that we have?
This is Steve Cusis. I have one question. Sometimes the work hours are, the shift may start at 6 a.m. Is that an issue with the Holyoke ordinance?
Yeah, that would be an issue. If that's what you want to do, the best thing to do right now when we're doing this is to try to outline exactly what you're looking for now. So that way later on, if you want to change anything, you can change it later, but like be within the time ranges that you're trying to work within. So if it's 6, then you should say 6 a.m. instead of.
Yeah, it is 6, yeah.
So then let's do 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. And would 6 be the same for Saturday and Sunday?
8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
You know what, let's change that to 7. Just in
7?
case.
Okay. All right then.
It would help mitigate traffic as well.
So a lot of this can be amended later, but it's best for you to do the most you can right now in the moment, so that way you don't have to amend anything later on.
Great, thank you.
So with those edits, is everything okay?
Yep, that according to my read of the 2A and 2B, I'm quite confident that Blue Fox is not going to have the 2-year pass before they act on their special permit. They are leasing the space and have to pay rent, so I'm 100% confident that they are going to act on their special permit immediately.
So I'll make a motion
Thank
to
you.
recommend that we approve the special permit with the aforesaid conditions.
Well, first, I think we should close the public hearing.
Oh,
That is correct.
all right, okay.
Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So,
Have you
He-
solicited the?
Yes.
public?
Yes, he
Okay,
did.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I'll make a motion that we recommend adoption of the granting of special permit with the aforesaid conditions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
So it'll go to the next city council meeting as a recommendation out of this committee. And when
Great,
is our
thank you.
next meeting? June
June 18th.
18th.
No, you want to take number 2 off the table, Mr. Chair? Do you want to just keep going in order, or we switch? We
go in order.
Okay, all right. I make a motion, take 2 off the table.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 2 was filed by Councilor Givner with community support. Order that the city of Holyoke establish in the Schedule A homeless housing liaison position. Online, we have Kelly Curran. The mayor is going to try to zoom in, but he's currently at the airport transporting or trying to fly somewhere. I think one of the main things I tried to highlight here with this or get this forward is because we're trying to move forward with developing some sort of community response division and within the city, and this would be somewhat of the first steps. But I'm willing to have a conversation with the body, mostly because there's another approach that I see that could incorporate this piece, but it would be a much more strategic approach with regards to having the mayor actually just came on now, but he's probably going through security. But it's more about developing this office of this division of community response in a way where it's strategically building out to help support the services that it's intended to support. So as the homeless housing liaison position is a great position, and we have, I believe the job description should be in the folder. And Kelly will be able to expand more on that too as well. But it's only a piece of what we're trying to do with regards to the community response division. It's only a portion of the overall umbrella of things that are going to happen out of this division. One thing is around community response and emergency management. Another one is trying to do a focus on violence prevention as well as housing, all under the same umbrella. So I think for me is having the conversation around the homeless housing liaison position, just to hear this piece out, but at the same time where this would lie under a division of community response. And I'll open the floor for any counselors as soon as I was going to say Counselor Curran, but as soon as as soon as Kelly explains or elaborates on the position.
I want to hear from Kelly.
Yeah, so the position was, I think, either originally recommended by the mayor and the previous Board of Health director, but since then, I think we've discovered that some of the needs have changed, and so we went back and forth with maybe calling it a community response coordinator or director who could help the greater community, not just the unhoused population. I know Josh, the Mayor Garcia, is also on if he wants to speak towards this too.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Hey, no problem. Thank you so much, Counselor. Thank you, Kelly. The intent here and what we're trying to do today is have a conversation with the council and trying to build this out and what it's going to look like. The goal is to respond to basic quality of life issues to avoid displacement. And there's many things that can lead to displacement, whether if it's a housing issue with a landlord, or it can be not feeling safe in the neighborhood. It could be somebody who's unhoused, sleeping in an alleyway, just basic quality of life neighborhood concerns that often make its way to our departments, whether if it's the Board of Health, the building department, by office, we do a lot of it. And so the idea is to try to tackle this much more proactively to resolve issues before they become issues. So it's like that, it's that gap coordinating between departments so that we're able to address those basic quality of life issues before they actually become problems and potentially lead to displacement. Originally, the homeless liaison housing coordinator was the basic concept, doing tenant protections, landlord registries, things of that nature. But certainly we're trying to build out a division so it goes beyond housing when we're talking about trying to prevent displacement out of from a neighborhood or from our city in general. So that's where we're at. And I think the intent here is not to be anything that the mayor just decided to do and is looking to get passed, but trying to build it with you. I've been going back and forth, counselors just calling me individually, asking me more, and wanting to take that feedback so that we can figure out what the best course of action looks like for this particular role.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And then I see Councilor Vacan has her hands raised, but real quick, just to add a little bit more context to as well, I think one of the most important pieces for me, neighbor to neighbor, a variety of tenants came in. They filed a petition around Office of Tenant Protections and stuff like that, and we heard them. I think the mayor hears them. A lot of us hear from our own constituents about a variety of different issues around mental health, substance abuse, and then housing prices going up on a regular basis, right? So I think the homeless and housing liaison piece is just a component of a larger system that if we work together and build out, we'll be able to mitigate and kind of put all those services under one umbrella, kind of going back to what the mayor was speaking to. But Councilor Vacan.
Thank you. So my question is, we have a long-standing and pretty strong history of collaborating and coordinating with our community providers, some which are local and some which are regional. And so I'm trying to see how this would interface with them. And I'm concerned about trying to build that kind of a service within the local government when we're already at the tax ceiling, and how that would be interfacing and effective with the current, say, hub activities that we have going on, and why would we want to try to recreate it? I guess I'm wondering.
So I can actually answer that question, and then the mayor can kind of answer if he wants to, if my answer is not good enough, right? I think So what the hub is doing is another component, another piece, right? The hub sees 1 or 2 cases a week. The issues we have are way larger than just 1 to 2 cases a week. And the hub is more of a referral agency where we come together and we have a variety of different service providers are able to chat about a particular individual or a particular family and see how they can come together and provide these services. The division of community response will work in collaboration with the hub, possibly be on the lead team of the hub to make sure that these things are not only servicing the 1 or 2 people, but at the same time, those service providers are being able to capture any other people that are walking through the doors of that office. So, for example, if we have homeless population that are looking for homes, obviously, Wayfinders, Holyoke Housing Authority, One Holyoke CDC, a variety of other subsidized or nonprofits, or even homeowners that are Section 8 approved are working in the direction of trying to provide this service, but it's not all centralized. So with this division and having this housing liaison working under the division, it would all be centralized. There's also a collaboration where the city kind of receives funding for a variety of different entities for a larger homeless and opioid initiative where we're managing that. And I think it's either the mayor or community development that kind of is at the forefront of that. This would allow for that director of this community division or this office of division of community response would allow for them to take the lead on that and actually seek out different variety of grants or opportunities of revenue to be able to mitigate the costs on our ceiling, right? There's a significant amount of opioid dollars that are coming in to the city, and a lot of that has to be spent around opioid mitigation, or at least within that direction. Mental health, substance abuse, and homelessness all coincide in some way, shape, or form. With the opioid dollars, we're able to kind of build something out that can help work in that direction to, provide these services. And we're not building out a whole new nonprofit in the city. That I agree with you on that, Councilor Bacon. That's not the case. What we're doing here is we're centralizing all the service providers to be on the same page with us as a city, and we refer them out to them. So but not only just refer them out, is referring them out with actually like paying attention that things are actually happening. It's a different case as to, for myself, I would say, for example, when I came out of prison, there was nowhere for me to go here. I had to go to Springfield. And in Springfield, that's about 2 to 3 buses for me to get to that spot, to then get the services that I would need around mental health, workforce development, mentoring, all that other stuff. So instead of having to travel to Springfield, this is something that we would have here in Holyoke for not only people that are coming out of prison, but anyone that's coming out of a mental health facility, that's coming out of some substance abuse issues, and they could be coming out of the military and they need to find workforce development or whatever it is. The idea under this office is being able to provide services to the people that are searching for a better quality of life within the community. I hope that makes sense.
Well, I do hear what you're saying, and I think that it is a good goal, but I think we have to also keep in mind that we are barely, with a population a little over 37,000 people at this point, we're barely meeting the definition of a city, and we have limited tax revenues to support more government positions. So I guess I'd be interested in seeing if that the monies coming in for the special use could be specifically earmarked to that. So if those monies are available, then it is for that purpose tied to it. Before I'd be comfortable supporting any new positions in our city government. I mean, that's just where I'm coming from fiscally.
No, I agree with you, and I think for me, this is why I said the housing liaison position is a great position, but it's not the position that I would feel like we would need to push forward first. I think for me, it's a director of community response division, because this person would be able to work with us in trying to find funding to help mitigate any other positions that we add on. It makes no sense for us to take on more costs for something that is not actually going to be able to produce for us. I agree with that, but like, and to a certain extent, because there's quality of life that it does produce, and it helps people feel better. And when you feel better, things happen better. But at the end of the day, there's a bottom line, and there's bills that need to be paid, right? Ideally, I would think that a lot of this does come out of the opioid funds in the beginning, but through the person's role, it would be their role to apply for grants, to go ahead and mitigate a variety of costs that could come on with this, working in collaboration with the police department on Ray Street, working in collaboration with the community response emergency team that we have. There's a variety of things that are already happening. It's about centralizing a lot of it and putting it under one roof, and trying to see how we can capitalize by saying, hey, this is what we do already, and we can apply for grants to help us mitigate these costs here and there. But go ahead, Mayor.
No, someone was just saying, hey, are you a mayor of Holyoke? Con gusto. No, un momento. No, I'm just on the phone. I'm sorry, councilors. Councilor Bacon, yeah, no, absolutely. I think because of the need that we have in trying to help departments continue to build capacity, currently I'm not interested in getting off that path, but we're looking at the opioid funding to be the source of revenue to sustain this role. This is where I wish, what's his name, our former Board of Health Director, Sean, was still around. And this isn't anything we have to decide on tonight, because I know that, like, again, I want to solicit that feedback. One feedback I got was, let's change the title to the job. That's fine. We can send it back and refile the order and make sure at the next committee have Alicia Zoller here participating, as well as Tim Rivers, who's our Board of Health Director, that can really talk a lot about what we're experiencing out there in the city around this particular issue. Tim and Alicia go above and beyond their normal job scope, being the housing liaison, homeless folks, not because they know that, like, it's going to lead to their department one way or another. So it's better to be proactive. So just this role keeps it focused. We got social service providers around the city, and none of them are representing the city. And by having this position available, it represents the office, the city of Holyoke, facilitating what's happening out there, as well as facilitating what's happening internally. If it's a resident that's having an issue with a landlord, but something that we don't have to go in with a stick, but instead educate the landlord, things like that, to prevent an issue where problems occur and people get displaced from their neighborhoods. So, not anything we got to decide tonight. I think it's a conversation starters so that we can start thinking outside the box and being able to come up with something where we can all take ownership in this role and feel good about it. And hopefully, by the next time we talk about this, we can have Alicia here and Tim here that can really speak to the benefits of what this can do for our residents in the city. But to your point, Councilor Bacon, I'm not trying to include this we're looking at using opioid funds and leveraging any other resources we can to support the position among, other activities that would happen out of the division.
Thanks.
Councilor Bartley?
No, I'll just add that I kind of support this, and I think that as long as, and I heard what you said, it doesn't sound like we're having an enabler. You know what I mean? I'm not being a jerk there. I just mean somebody that really wants to reach out to them and knows how to talk to people that are in struggling positions, and then knows how to not just talk to them, but lead them to possible services. This is going to be a perpetual issue, but and I'd hate to see it just be one person too. It should be nice to have a little team. And then I like what you said about working with the hub, working with the Ray Street, working with the nonprofits. I mean, it's really it could be like a very groundbreaking position if we did it right. So hopefully we can get something up and running this year, and because really the situation is getting out of control, and we got to do something.
Thank you, Council. And before I recognize, just to add on, you are totally correct, Councilor Bartley. And then I think I would say is reentry wise and mental health and substance abuse wise, coming down the pipeline within the next 5 to 10 years, that is going to be one of the main focuses throughout the country. So just being a step ahead of the game might allow for us to be able to take advantage of certain things. But Councilor Rivera.
So homelessness is such a big issue we're having here in Holyoke, well, every other city as well as us. As the director of operations at my job at Enlace, we put, and I do it because I'm like the director and I'm the one that calls it in, we're putting 6, 7, 8 families, probably a week in hotels. And we just don't put them there. We put them in there, and there are a lot of families have babies, and they have nowhere to go. A lot of families are coming in. They're sleeping in cars with their kids. And we try to help them. We help them out with applications, but there is no apartments to put them in. We do workshops where they come in, and they'll sit down and fill out applications for every apartment that we can possibly try to get them in Holyoke or Springfield or Chicopee. We try to, if they don't speak English, we're giving them English classes. We give out gift cards for food for them. So homelessness is really bad. I feel bad for all of them. A lot of them really trying. There's no shelters. We've had some families where we're helping them, and there was one specific lady had a kid in a handicap. He was handicapped in a wheelchair, and they moved them all the way out to Marble, Mass, or someplace far. So she had to change everything all over, didn't speak English. So the homelessness, I find, I'm in support of this position. We do need, because I mean, we go by and we have a list of places and put them in application. But if we just have somebody else to try to help us, we try to educate them. A lot of the families are homeless because their landlords are just raising their rents, and they can't even afford to stay in their apartment, so they become homeless. So I see it on a daily basis in my job, so I would be in support of this because we really have an issue with the homelessness.
Thank you, Councilor McGrath-Smith.
I want to say how grateful I am for the transition from Sean to Tim, and how Tim has stepped into that role with real vision and energy to respond. I think I've worked with Tim really closely over the last few weeks on a few particular sticky cases, and we're trying to figure out how to support people to make the right choices or to support a property that's fallen into misuse. And they have done such a great job at being responsive and trying to come up with everything they can in order to respond, and also respond to people, with a sense of dignity. I'm interested in a couple things here on the document itself. I hear that it's currently been being named as the Homelessness and Housing Outreach Coordinator, but I feel like what I'm hearing is it's more of a community care coordinator. It's wider than just homelessness and housing, and I think that we should consider a title change. I also think under essential functions, the first piece is it says that it advises and consults. I would rather stronger verbs like leads, administers, oversees. Like, make it clear that they are leading this effort. But I think advising and consulting sounds like they're advising who. It's like I'm here as a resource, versus someone who's really taking lead on not just being reactive, but also being proactive. I love that later on, under knowledge, skills, and abilities, it names that they're going to be working with folks who are not only experiencing homelessness, but who are at risk of homelessness. That speaks to prevention. I think that is the right path, right? Not only to have someone who's taking on like the hub, these are people already who are needing a lot of coordinated care, but also thinking before that, what happens when? Let's make sure that we are prepared. And we have so many nonprofits who are just jumping into the void every time they're trying to okay, we think this is about to happen. Happened after Hurricane Maria. All the nonprofits that were like, okay, this is coming. What can we do to prepare? And then how can we react? Versus having someone at the city level who's helping us to react. So it's not just falling on the nonprofit. And I do think that the opioid funding, we know will last for 20 years if it's not extended. This is a long-term source of funding, and we should be using it in order to figure out how to mitigate what is going on. And a lot of our folks who are in coordinated care needs are also struggling with addiction. And so it's important that I think we use the opioid funding in order to address it in this way. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Givner? Councilor Bacon?
Oh, I was just going to say, I had heard you indicate that you thought this would be updated and revised to be a broader relative to the
Yes.
consideration of that.
Yes.
And so I was just wondering if we were at a point to table it.
So that's what I was going to say.
And if we were.
So the recommendation for me would be to table it, and then I'll file another order, just for the actual position name, right? And then we can take that one up with a job description that is going to be very similar to this one, but incorporate some more duties, so that way it's more of a like she mentioned, director, leader, someone that implements and kind of does strategic planning stuff too at the same time, and then take this one up after that, because like Bartley said, Councilor Bartley said, it would be great to have a team, like, if that makes sense.
It makes sense to me. I think it would be helpful too if we could have some statistics, so that if we're looking at a position, we can also be looking at goals. Because I feel somewhat as a community, we're in a catch-22.
Yes.
We do way more than our fair share of providing affordable housing. We do more than any community around us. On the other hand, I keep hearing we don't have any.
Right.
Do you know? And so we also don't want to be setting somebody up to fail. So we also have to try to figure out what can they accomplish,
and that's why I feel like the idea of not just pigeonholing only into housing, because it will get to a point where all we can do is refer people out, right? And then what is the person doing? Just referring out to Jenny at an Ase. So like I wouldn't want that to be the first. That is part of the pot, right?
As long as there is somewhere.
But it's not. That's not the main piece. The main piece is building out this larger division of community response, where you can have housing issues mitigated, you can have vagrancy issues mitigated. Someone that if you see down the street, or I know Councilor Ocasio has mentioned before with the walking school bus, if that's an issue, you call those people, and then those people will come down and then investigate the space, boom, 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 because this is one of the things that's within their scope of practice at the time. Right now, there's nobody, so DPW will say, that's not us, this person will say, that's not us, and before you know it, we're having to kind of write an order so that they do it.
So somebody does it, right? So yeah, it's just my business background, so I'm looking for the measurables and what we would be able to anticipate would be the better outcomes from it. So thank you.
I agree with you. Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to table for now.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So the item is tabled. I'll entertain a motion to take up item 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 was filed by Councilor McGee. This is like the 20th time we've met. Order that the zoning ordinance section 7.8 wireless telecommunications facilities and antennas be amended to include small wireless facilities. It looks like we got a communication from Solicitor Manteleschi. I guess I can. Councilor McGrath-Smith, go ahead.
So I wanted to thank Solicitor Manteleschi for sending us to this and this to us, and I think it does a couple of things. It just, again, from our city solicitor, we are hearing the restrictions that we have relative to health concerns to not consider them, and the reality is that all we can do is to, address it in the ability of aesthetics, right? but we can't address any health concerns. We just have to make sure that the facility complies with the FCC's regulations, and our hands are tied beyond that. And I think she just names a few things that I think are important. So given that these small wireless facilities are already going up all over the city, every time I drive through, I swear, now that I know what they look like, oh, there's one, there's one, there's one. So one, we have no way of knowing where they are now because the way that we have in our ordinances, they don't have to tell us that they're putting them up or ask our permission. They can just put them up. So it's a bit of a wild, wild west. Right now, we need to move forward, even though I don't want to, because I think that there are potential health concerns, but we are tied to in responding to that in any way. If we move this forward, which I think we should tonight, then a special permit is required. Abutters have to be notified. It goes through the site plan process, and the city may charge a maximum fee of $270 a year for a small wireless facility. It also becomes a revenue stream for the city, which we may want to consider. So I wanted to put that out there, and I think that we should move this forward to council.
Thank you. Real quick before, can we entertain a motion to take up item 4 as a package with 3?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4 is the actual letter from Solicitor Manteleschi. And before I recognize you, Councilor Vega, I kind of want to read it into the record because there is some stuff here that I just want to make sure that the public knows that we are voting on this because we have to. As a result of May 8th, 2024 City Council Ordinance Committee meeting, there were concerns mentioned regarding the draft Small Wireless Facilities Ordinance. Specific concerns were raised regarding addressing health concerns, notification to abutters, and the annual fees associated with the small wireless facility. The ordinance amends Section 7.8 of the Holyoke Zoning Ordinances. Section 7.8 requires that a special permit be required pursuant to MGLC period 40A. Section 11 requires abutter notifications for special permit applications, as does the Holyoke Zoning Ordinance. Therefore, abutters will be notified upon receipt for an application by the city and the scheduling of public hearing. As it relates to, wait a second, for clarification, that means that we're paying for public notice, right? Application by the city. Therefore, abutters will be notified upon receipt of application by the city and schedule. Okay, we got to pay for public notice too?
They would be
And the scheduling of the public hearing.
notified of the application.
Abutters would be, but like who would notify them? Would that be the city or them?
The applicant should usually pay for that.
Okay. As it relates to health concerns, 47U.S.C, whatever that logo is, 332C7B-IV, provides that no state or no local government or instrumentality thereof may regulate the placement, construction, and modification of personal wireless service facilities on the basis of the environmental effects of radio frequency emissions to the extent that such facilities comply with the Commission's regulations concerning such emissions. Therefore, the city is expressly preempted from regulating a small wireless facility as it relates to the health safety as long as the facility complies with the FCC's regulations. In addition, the annual fee referenced in the ordinance is prescribed by FCC declaratory ruling and third report and order adopted September 26, 2018. Released September 27, 2018. Said order states that the city may charge a maximum fee of $270 per year for a small wireless facility. Additionally, a question came up regarding other communities and regulation. Please note that the city neighbor, Chicopee, has a similar ordinance. That letter was from Solicitor Manteleschi. So, Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. So I would like to offer a few amendments to the language, and I am also in favor of moving it forward. It looks like our ordinance is somewhat similar to the one that Chicopee has, our amendments, but we're just looking at amendments. We're not really looking at a whole. So if this language that I'm proposing exists somewhere else, then fine, we don't need it. But the tone of all of the language to me was seeming to, other than in C, where it says applicant shall include with its application sufficient evidence consistent with the industry standards to justify its requested placement, which is very broad, so it encompasses a lot. I would just like to strengthen that language a little bit by adding L that says the failure to provide evidence of need / significant gap in service and/or the ability to meet current industry laws and standards at the time of application may result in denial of the special permit. Because I'm trying to make this be sort of a living law. The industry is going to change. They're going to figure out what these high-speed radio waves are doing. And it will be up to people in the industry to know that, be up to date on it. And I do anticipate that down the road, there is some very serious work that's been done in this field now for years, looking at the laws and how much FCC is really overbearing on local control. So I would like to add that language if the committee is willing. And I would also like to add in language that says the applicant shall provide evidence of insurance. In the language of the ordinance, it references that they will have insurance, but I would like to see them provide evidence that they have the insurance. You know, it's one thing for us to have a hold harmless, but then if they don't have any coverage, if something happens, we still have the harm, right?
Who are they insuring?
So the language would say that the applicant shall provide evidence of insurance to cover any claims brought against the facility. They're giving a hold harmless in this to the city, the applicant is.
So why don't you have,
But-
so you want proof of insurance and you want the city
Yeah.
to be named as an additional insured? Is that what you're saying?
I guess so.
More than a whole harmless, yeah. I
Well,
think that's
there's
what you're
also
saying.
the indemnification clause, which is there anyway.
Yeah, big deal. So
Right.
you want them to be, and a city to be an additional insured? I
Right.
think that's what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what you said.
Well, what is the, I'm open to saying it a better way.
Well, I think that's what you want is, so you want proof of insurance.
Proof.
And you want the city to be added as an additional insured. That happens all the time, so.
Provide
That should be easy. I would
of
think.
insurance.
Yeah.
And city as
To be named as
additional
additional insured.
insured.
So just make sure those amendments are clear so that when Jeff is going through, he knows.
I'm sorry?
Like, let's make sure that the amendments are clear, so.
So I'll second everything.
So,
Lynn's-
hang on.
Yep.
I just have one more.
I'll second what she says so far.
Okay, I have two more. So one is relative to the fee that right now is restricted or capped or set at $270.
Which I'm surprised, because I.
Those
read
things
something about
always
it that says something
change.
Different.
So I just wanted to write language in that said, which may be changed from time to time, so we don't have to do the ordinance over if the fee changes in a year or two. That's all.
Who adjusts our fees usually?
Well, this fee, I believe, is set by the FCC,
Oh,
the 270,
so the ordinance would read, it would reflect the FCC's
which
current-
may be changed from time to time per FCC.
Yeah, we just reflect the FCC's current fee schedule.
So
Yeah.
Jeffrey, could I just check in that you're getting this? Yeah, but this is too much. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
keeping up on it. And
Okay, thank you.
hopefully Attorney Bissonette is too.
Yeah, he's here,
Okay,
and
thank you.
and it looks like you want to chime in. I'll just wait till Counselor Bacon's done, and then
I
I'll.
just have one more thing, and
Yeah.
it might already be covered in another part of the ordinance, but if it isn't, I wanted to put in language about abandonment, because sometimes we end up with problems. We have all antennas and things all over the city that people abandon and don't take care of. So if we don't have it somewhere else in the ordinance that I don't see, I'd like to add abandonment, that any small wireless facility that is abandoned shall be removed by the owner within 60 days of abandonment at the owner's expense. And those would be the amendments I would offer.
Can I just recommend something real?
Counselor Bartley.
So that could be covered under insurance as well. So you would mandate that if there's abandonment, that the insurance would cover that, unless so. In other words, if the vendor doesn't remove it themselves, the city could put a claim on their insurance to
Okay.
get reimbursed.
Thank you.
That happens all the time.
Attorney Bissonette.
I would suggest, Counselor Bacon, on that third one, perhaps language that reflects that the fee will be set at the maximum amount allowed by state or federal law.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Which may be changed from time to time as determined by state or federal law,
Yeah.
or as set by.
Thank you, Councilor
Okay.
McGrath Smith.
One question that I had is around the language in section 1 that says that effectively any exterior transmitting or receiving device mounted on a wireless telecommunications facility, building, or structure, excluding any utility pole mounted equipment. And I wondered, I know there's a comment in there around HG&E's interpretation of what that means, because utility pole is not considered a structure. But I do wonder if that means that small wireless facilities will be placed on telephone poles without any noticing requirements. Is that what that means? And if that's the case, can we amend it in order people, I mean, if you live right next to a telephone pole or it's being put up, would you still want to be noticed? Why
Are you
would-
asking that question to Attorney Bissonnette?
Yeah, I'm just not quite understanding if we're excluding telephone utility poles and they are going to be mounted on utility poles. That doesn't seem to make sense to me. I thought the goal was that we would know where they were and that people would be noticed.
If I'm remembering right, I think in the public hearing, HG&E said they determine their poles.
Right.
Attorney Bissonnette, I don't know
But
if I'm
go ahead,
remembering
Attorney.
that correctly, if you know, but I thought HG&E was doing their own.
Go ahead, Attorney Bissonnette.
That was the plan, and as far as I know, still is HG&E's plan. So they'll be in with, they should be in with petitions. But the balance of these licenses now will at least give the city an opportunity to at least pinpoint where they're going, and we can keep track of the whereabouts. I suspect this will be the current sort of attempt to regulate, but much like we see it with cable, we see it with solar. You'll see it more and more in telecommunications, wireless. There's no local control anymore, very little regulation. So this is sort of one way to keep track and make some money for the city coffers, but it's not a lot to deal with in terms of local ability to weigh in on health issues.
Would it be, just as a follow-up, would it be possible or advisable to include language in here that HG&E or anyone putting something on a utility pole would also have to notify the city in some way and also have to notice abutters? Even if we're not collecting money on it, and that's like an understanding that we have with HG&E?
I'm not certain if they have an exemption from these type of rules under federal regulations. But the other, certainly if this is an additional revenue source, it may be time to look at their pilot payments. Because they get an awful lot from all the wires currently on the poles. And that includes certainly the city doesn't get a dime from Comcast wireless service. No city does. It's illegal under federal law. So this is just, one sort of allowance that they're going to make to let cities and towns keep an eye on where these things are going, but that's very limited.
Councilor Bacon.
So just through the chair to Attorney Bissonnette, the amendments that you've heard, are they reasonable to you?
I think that they are. I think they'll pass muster. We'll add them in the final version. If this committee approves them, we'll add them to the final version, and we'll go to the council for their next meeting. I I want to look at the language. I think Mr. Bartley is onto something with adding the city as an additional insured. We have that in some other contracts that we do, and I think we may steal that language as well to make sure it's in here. But let me take a look at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So I think some of my amendments were seconded, but I don't know if all of them were.
I think the first three were, but Councilor Bartley would amend second the rest of them.
So-
Yeah, they're all reasonable.
So, the amendments were,
You want me to go over them again?
yeah, if you can real quick,
Okay.
just to be clear.
For Jeff.
Or Jeff, do you have them written?
So the first one was that the failure to provide evidence of the need or significant gap in service and/or the ability to meet the current laws and industry standards at the time of application may result in denial of the special permit. The next one was insurance, evidence of insurance will be provided and the city will be named as an additional insured, and to include abandonment of facility. And then the other one was fees, $270, which may be changed from time to time as set by state or federal law. And the abandonment is any small wireless facility that is abandoned shall be removed by the owner within 60 days of abandonment at owner's expense. And we're trying to roll that into the insurance part. So that would be the amendment.
Yeah, I second all that, as long as that last part has covered by insurance. So if they don't do the job, then we can claim their insurance.
Okay, there's a second. All in favor?
Aye. And then motion to approve the ordinance as amended?
Motion to approve the ordinance as amended?
Yeah, I'll second that. Just under discussion?
Second.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Well, can I just?
Oh, my bad, under discussion first.
What's the chair's pleasure? Do you want us to have it shipped back to us for one more read? Because sometimes,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
I would say one more read after the language is done,
if
because
you would.
we've had languages
It's a little bit.
change.
Sometimes it gets tweaked.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't know it got tweaked.
Nobody's fault. We're
No,
just,
I'm not.
No, I know.
That is what I was getting.
So
It
yeah,
was up to you, it's your call.
so I guess we'll table it to get the language, and then we'll talk about it at the next meeting to send it off for
So
final
we'll
vote.
get a final draft of what you're saying.
Yeah.
So-
Okay.
So the motion would be to approve as amended and send to legal for final legal form to come back to committee.
Okay,
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
and then motion to table.
And then
Second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So that, item 3 and 4, motion,
Can I just make one comment?
sure.
So this has been a really long process. This issue has been before us for years. And I do want to say a public thank you to Kirsten Beatty, who has done a ton of work in this area. And I think she raises some very serious and real concerns around the technology. And my biggest concern is that we have all this stuff flying around and we don't even have the capacity to measure it. So I just want to do a shout out to her. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Entertain a motion to take up item 5.
So,
All in favor?
aye.
Item 5 was filed by Councilor Givner with community support. Order that the $15 pothole claim fee be reduced to 0 to reflect practices of neighboring cities and towns. Charging a fee to residents for a service paid by taxes seems redundant. Introduced by ordinance in 2018. This nominal fee generates approximately $400 annually. Councilor Givner could not be present with us, but for the sake of conversation, if any other councilors want to chime in on it now, feel free to do so. But if not, then I can just table it for another day that she's actually available. Councilor Bacon.
I would just say that I think this is a very reasonable order, and I don't think most of our residents that file a claim relative to hitting a pothole are looking for that hassle in the first place. So I tend to think they're only filing it when they end up losing a tire or something that's going to cost them big money. And so it seems like it's a discouragement
Right.
to charge $15 to fill out the form. And so, I don't know, that I'm kind of warm to that.
Yeah. If it's the will of the body to
I'll make
move
a
it,
motion
yeah,
that we just approve it.
yeah. If it's the will of the body to approve it now, I'm with that.
Move it along, just get it out of here.
Okay. So
And
second.
if somebody could just send us, we'll see it, the revised schedule in our packet for the next meeting.
All right,
We
perfect.
don't need to see that here.
So there's a motion, there's a second, that it moves to the next meeting and is approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 5 has been dealt with.
Motion to take up item 6?
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 6 was filed by myself. Order that the city council review noise ordinance to require a decibel meter reading before a ticket can be submitted or for music to be asked to be turned down. It is my understanding that the department has the necessary devices to measure readings, and we want to be sure that they're being utilized in case citations are challenged in court. Jeff had mentioned that he was going to invite the chief in for this one. I don't actually see him here. And I don't want to actually move forward without actually having any opinion from the police department with regards to like how this would kind of play out. As much as I know that they have this tool and I would like for them to utilize it, I would like them to be involved in the conversation with regards to like how this goes about. Councilor Bacon.
I hear you on that, and I agree with you on that, because I think it would be getting into micromanagement that I know you're not a fan of. If we're saying to people, you have to take a decibel measurement before you can ask somebody to turn down a noise that somebody else complained about, I think you're getting into having to prove something and taking away the officer's discretion. And I mean, in my view, if somebody's calling with a complaint, you want the officer to be able to ask the person to change
Yes.
the noise
I think,
without having to prove
Yeah,
it.
no, I think
That's all.
the idea is the ticket. Before you can give
But not to
someone
ask
right, you can ask.
Because
to
it
turn someone
sounded
music.
like it said
Just approve it.
they had to have a decibel reading before they could ask.
No, not to ask to turn music down. If you can hear it, it's already in the ordinance. If you can hear it, you can ask them to turn it down. I think the idea is if you're going to serve someone a ticket and you're telling them, because we have an ordinance of what the actual reading is supposed to say, right?
Okay.
If you give them a ticket and they go to court to challenge it, where's the proof that they actually passed that?
Okay, so you would take out or for the music to be asked to be turned down then? You'd be okay with that?
Yeah, it'd be okay.
Okay.
There's no issue there.
All right, but again, like you said, you want to hear from them.
I would prefer to hear.
Is the language, I know I could look it up, but it'd be nice if is it,
Oh, you mean the ordinance?
yeah, the actual ordinance. Could
Oh, the noise and the
we actually
decibels?
see that?
I don't actually think it's
Well, maybe
attached
just for the
here.
next time you bring it up.
So then for the next time, hey Jeff, can we make sure that for the next time we have the actual ordinance?
With the decibels?
Yeah, with the decibel reading thing.
I think I could pull it up really quickly if you'd like me to.
If you can, Jeff,
Someone
that would be
email it
great.
to us or something.
Last meeting, we just.
We're gonna probably table it anyways, just to have the police come in, so we can just have it for the next meeting then, as an actual physical copy.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times, it's multiple times. I just waved to them and I said, come on over. And they usually like to talk about their bikes or their trikes
Yeah,
or whatever. And I just say, listen, can you just behave yourself driving on, Queen Street or Martin, can you just, oh yeah, no problem. Only one time did somebody really like zap me.
Right.
And that's okay, I get it. But most of the time, they don't want to misbehave. So it's just, it is what it is. You just got to talk to them.
Yep, I agree with you.
So
So,
I'll make the motion to table for the police to
Second.
be able to weigh in.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 6 is tabled.
Kev's not here, so we take him 7 or?
I would be cool with tabling that one, but I think that one doesn't necessarily need his presence.
Oh, okay. You want to take up item 7? We need Kelly?
I was gonna say we need Kelly,
Second.
but she's not here.
It doesn't look like she's
Yeah.
there
I
anymore.
thought our director, Tim, said he was all set with that
So,
range.
motion to take item 7 off the
So
table.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 7 was filed by Council Jordan. This is around the ordinance around lifeguard pay. So I know in conversation with the solicitor's office and Kelly Curran, my understanding was that there is a range of what they can get paid,
Right.
and that the department is still within that range, so we don't actually have to change the ordinance to reflect whatever the pay rate is.
And I think he said that at his budget hearing.
I don't,
He was okay with his budget and the pay and the money.
possibly. I know I got that from Kelly and from the solicitor's office, which makes sense.
Well, then I'll make a motion that it's complied with.
Fine with me. I got no issue.
Oh, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 7 is complied with.
Because he just said to make sure.
So it's all set, Linda?
Motion to take it off the table?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 8 was filed by Council McGee. Order that the position of Chief Administration and Financial Officer be created to be added to Schedule A. The mayor was trying to be on for this one too, but he's probably actually on the flight now. So this is, I think, something that is expected to roll out kind of in tandem with what we kind of just did the other night with the treasurer's position, to my understanding. So I think for us is to see if we can vote on it now, move it to the larger council, to then have the conversation at the larger council and see if it gets approved then. Open it up to any counselors for any discussion. Okay.
I feel like we've talked about this a lot.
I don't disagree. I'll entertain a motion that this get approved and move to the full council.
I'll make a motion that we approve this and move it to full council. Second.
All in favor?
I'm a no.
Yeah, I'll be, I want to hear from the mayor a little more, but that's me, but.
I just don't see the money for it. And we haven't done the treasurer yet.
But I get it. I mean, I want to support the mayor, in this, but I want to hear from the mayor a little more, but, so I'd rather table in committee, but I don't want to vote no. I'll just.
We could also invite the mayor to the city council meeting where this occurs.
Oh, that's for sure, but that's never a great thing
Okay.
when you do it. When's the next ordinance meeting?
Oh, right. That was a question I had.
Jeff, do we have another ordinance meeting scheduled?
When do you want to schedule it?
There isn't yet one on the calendar.
Do we have another Wednesday available before the end of June?
Well, the 19th is a holiday.
Juneteenth.
That would
No,
take you to the 26th.
Yeah,
26,
yeah, but we don't meet anymore. We meet
till
the 18th.
August.
Well, I mean, I would say take it up in July, and then we'll deal with it at the August meeting. That's what I would do.
But then it would be after the fiscal budget.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, yeah, you,
You get what I'm saying?
We have
oh, I hear you.
for the 25th, which is a council meeting.
Do we have any dates, any Tuesdays or Mondays available then?
So our next city council meeting is the 18th.
And then we don't have no more after that?
So it has to be like this.
No, not till August. Unless there's a special meeting called, which there may be. Because we don't have free cash yet.
No.
And if they don't have free cash by the end of June, we will have no free cash till the next year. So we will have to meet if they don't have it by the 18th, but hopefully they'll have it by the 18th.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
I'm okay with having it being presented at the full council. I know it's not the ideal situation and having him come in to talk about it, because it usually ends up becoming a cluster F.
It will
Usually
become,
does.
it will
It usually
become,
does.
I-
It's better to just solidify it at this point, but I'll, certainly I'll vote it out. I just don't want to.
Yeah, no,
So you tell me what you want to do, and
Councilor McGrath, what do you think?
On the calendar, the only option is to change when the Charter and Rules meeting is. And have an ordinance meeting a week from today. Or the Monday after today.
I don't think no,
But I don't even know if that's possible given this body.
anything's possible. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman.
But in
Yes.
Charter and Rules, there's nothing so pressing that we
No.
have to do it on the 10th that we couldn't move it to another day in June.
Councilor Counselor Bacon.
If it needs to
I
happen.
would just
in
say,
ordinance.
I mean, I have my position on the matter, but
Yep.
certainly all votes out of committees don't have to be unanimous.
No, that I understand.
Right?
I think the situation for me
But-
is if we want this to work, it has to be in a way where everyone is gonna want to. Not obviously everyone's not gonna be on the page, but at least make it a comfortable space when we're talking about this and making it happen. Go ahead,
Is this a
Counselor
legal
Bartley.
form? I have the job posting. I mean, clearly I have that. Do I have the legal form for it?
It should.
I obviously see the job posting, and I've read that 4 times. I thought we need to have a legal form on it, Mr. Chair.
Jeff, do we have a legal form on this here? Because I don't see it in the.
I don't believe we've yet received one of those based
Oh.
on the job description.
Okay.
Well, obviously I can see it, but I'm just saying, usually the legal form is a little more,
Do we wanna do what you suggested about moving it to a Monday?
I can do
What
that.
day is that?
Monday,
Monday of what?
the 10th.
The 10th.
let me just look sorry about that.
Yeah, let me check my calendar real quick.
You'd have to post it by tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
That works for me.
I can clearly do it because it's my committee.
Yeah.
I'm already.
Well, put it
set for
this
that.
way,
We'll do.
Can I?
Go ahead.
why don't you just have a meeting at 6 and move charter and rules to 6, I mean, it's only gonna be a 1 ticket item, right?
We could probably do that. Yeah. And then I guess we'll do that for the Monday, the 10th.
Just have to be at 6, and if it spills over, it spills over.
And make sure we have the legal language for that day too as well, so that it goes over, and then we try to squeeze it in if we can for the next.
So I'll propose that we refer this to legal, to put it into legal form, and that we table the matter until the next meeting.
Okay,
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All right?
Aye.
And then anyone opposed?
I'm a no, yeah.
Yep. So that's 3-1, tabling to the next ordinance meeting, which should be June 10th at 6 p.m.
Second.
I think it's 4-1.
All in favor? Or 4-1,
It's
right?
4-1,
You're correct.
yes.
4-1, my bad.
All in favor? Yes, is that what you said?
Aye. And then the nay was Counselor Bacon, 4-1. So, yeah.
Okay, a motion to take item 9 off the table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 9 was filed by Counselor Rivera. Order that a removal of the handicap parking sign currently installed at 36 Northeast Street. Tenant Lori Bresnahan has relocated to East Hampton, making the presence of the handicap sign unnecessary at the specified location.
Motion to approve the removal.
I'll second that.
And have it removed from ordinance.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then there's one.
I'd like to make a motion
Yep.
to take item 10 off the table.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 10 was filed by Counselor McGee. Order that the ordinance be established to address 2/3 majority vote of the body for votes. Please provide legal language necessary for review.
So,
Let me see what we got here. We're here again, mostly because there were some hiccups, I would say. Originally, we had agreed to have 2 languages come out, just so that at the full body would be able to have the option to vote. And for me, that's a kumbaya moment. We can actually put out 1 language, but I feel like if it's a democracy, let's put out the 2 and allow everyone to get what they.
I already just brought the 1.
I hear you. So maybe we could do that tonight then, put out the 1. But before we move on any further, Counselor Bacon.
thank you. So, there was a little bit of confusion that was noted at City Council, because I think you just read the order, right? That an ordinance be established to address the 2/3 majority vote of the body for votes, referring to the City Council, right? So the language became a little confusing because it's talking about passage of measures requiring 2/3 vote, and the whole section should be passage of ordinances requiring 2/3 vote of the city council, because that is the rule that we're talking about. So unless otherwise mandated by Massachusetts general laws or the charter, all adoptions of ordinances, I don't know where measures comes in because we've never talked about that. We've talked about ordinances. So the all adoption of ordinances require a 2/3 supermajority vote for passage and shall be deemed passed if 2/3 of the entire body vote in favor, that the legal form be ordained. I'm taking this from the rules because that's what we actually do approve. And then our debate was between whether it should be of the entire body or of those members present, right? And so my recollection is that one member of the council asked us to come back with a recommendation for which way we wanted the body to go. Now, I'm not saying we have to do that because a member asked, I mean, it's really up to the committee, but what I would like to do is look at the version that talks about 2/3 of the entire body and limit our legal form only to the city council, not to other bodies. I have no idea what that means or what they're talking about. So I don't want to go there because I don't think then those other bodies would have had access to a hearing, a notice, or anything else. So I think this is just for the city council. So I'm hoping, regardless of which version of the 2/3 the committee wants, that the other language that I've used just to clarify it would be accepted by the committee. So I'll make that as an amendment to the legal form, those changes I just read.
Thank you.
Somebody would second it.
Second.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I hear you on that, right? Attorney Bissonnette, real quick, when you get a chance, if you could come on just to help elaborate on, I think for me, the definition of measures, right? And then I think there's a piece where it's true, because I think if we're saying that the 2/3 of the body, and then this vote, this changing of the 2/3 of the body is, I guess my question is to you, Attorney Bissonnette, is this something, because it's true what Councilor Bacon is saying, like, we kind of want it to be of the city council, but that kind of seems like that should be a city council rule, right? Versus an actual ordinance throughout the whole city. An ordinance throughout the whole city
Just for the council.
would be for everyone.
Right, this is just for the council.
But I guess for me, what difference would that be from like us creating our own city council rule? Mr. Bissonnette.
That's what you're doing here, or attempting to do, is create a rule governing what constitutes passage of an ordinance.
Right.
So that's within your rules. You're able to make that rule. I'm not certain that the term measure is still appropriate. It's an old charter term, but I don't think it applies here. And the other piece, I think, is the question originally was, what does it take to pass an ordinance? And who gets to vote? Who gets to be counted? So you're still at that point, because there are certain things in state law that require you to count all the bodies or exclude any empty seats. So if you only want to pin it to ordinances, then you can do it either way here with either of the two drafts that you have.
All right. Now, and I think the question comes up because through legal, it came up that when we're doing this, it's not necessarily that we're just changing the city council's rules. We're changing all voting bodies' rules, right, throughout the whole city, and that was not the intention.
No.
So we want to make sure that we're
It's not.
keeping. Okay. We want to make sure we're keeping to the letter of the intention.
Yeah, just for clarification, I'll give an example. Planning board. They have pretty specific rules that guide them under 40A, and the regulations issued there too. So the Conservation Commission has their own sets of rules. So the city council rules are very clear, and they're the maker of their own rules under the charter. So you can go ahead and deal with this as a one-off. It only applies to the city council.
Awesome. Thank you. And then the amendments you made again?
Yeah, say it again, please.
Yeah, can you repeat them?
So adding the following new section after section 2-8 would be 2-9, passage of ordinances requiring 2/3 vote of city council, unless otherwise mandated by Massachusetts general laws or the charter. All adoptions of ordinances require a 2/3 supermajority vote for passage and shall be deemed passed if 2/3 of the entire body vote in favor that the legal form be ordained. There's 3 steps to pass the first reading, pass the second reading, but the final vote to actually pass it is that the passage be ordained. Now, I'm reading from the version that says of the entire body, and of course, we know there's another version that says of those present. And that's kind of been the debate. The past practice.
So real quick, what you're
Yep.
asking is for the amendment to be added to both documents?
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Yeah, I'll second, but I just want to make a friendly amendment to the amendment. I don't like the term supermajority and 2/3, so if we could just take out the word super,
Okay.
that would be, because
2/3
supermajority.
majority?
2/3.
Okay.
Yeah, 2/3.
I'm good with that.
Otherwise, it's fine. So if you're good with that, then I'll second the.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Councilor McGrath-Smith?
So this is through the chair to Solicitor Bissonnette. We have a rule that, and we're trying to clarify. We're trying to clarify the rule in ordinance. What does our ordinances currently say we need? Is it just the majority, or do we have a statute that actually limits it further to 2/3?
I can't hear
You're muted.
I think it's currently,
You're good now.
good. I think it's currently 2/3 of those seated. So it's traditionally been 9 out of 13. And the question was on an override of the mayor's veto, was 9 out of 12. Was that the issue that raised this?
So the
Was it the
question is
veto
in
issue?
ordinances of those seated, and we are trying to define what does seated mean? Is it present or is it the full membership?
We can determine what we want it to be. Historically, it has been 2/3 of the entire body, which is why you always hear the number 9.
Yeah, or whatever.
I mean, that's
I
been
don't care anymore.
that's been our practice. And so the idea of this initially was simply to codify what had been our practice, because one time on one issue, it became a very controversial matter.
It was interpreted differently.
Yes. And there were contradictory legal opinions, one the complete opposite of the other by the exact same person,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera. So at that time, one of the counselors filed an order for us to have this discussion and put it to rest.
Yep.
And so it's not to say things can't change. I'm doing the Joe McGivern history lesson.
So,
But I appreciate that. Thank you.
but so
Shorter.
I guess I would say then on the motion for the amendments, if everyone agrees, can I have a yay?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
All in favor, I mean, on the amendments.
Yes. Aye.
Yes. Yes.
That's just clarifying the language. We're not on the 2/3 question yet.
The language is fine. It's more the concept that I'm going back and forth.
No, yes. I'm right now it's the amendments.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay. All in favor, 4-0 on the amendments. And then
We didn't vote.
He said, we each said yes for the
Yeah,
language.
I said all in favor for,
I thought you said 4-0.
So
well, I
it's
meant
five.
5-0, my bad. I keep thinking
You
it's a
keep that
four-body
count.
people. I keep thinking it's 4 people, I don't know why. And then now, let's do it this way. Motion for the first of all, what's the will of the body? Is it to send one language or to send the 2 languages? That would be my question.
I say 1.
Councilor Barley says 1. I'm okay with 1 too.
I'm okay with 1 too.
Well, then let's pick 1. What's the chair want to do?
I'm okay with 1. The thing that I'm going back and forth on is just that most local councils and other countries pass ordinance by majority vote.
That's not true.
That's not.
That's not accurate.
So,
Elaborate.
I will speak just to my own mind.
Yeah, elaborate on that.
That's the thing that I've been going back and forth on in my mind. I don't have an issue with defining it just based on who's seated. What does that mean? Like, what I've been going back and forth on in my mind is the value of a 2/3 vote needed to pass an ordinance versus a majority. Because a majority vote means it's easier to pass laws, the ordinances, they would change more often, right? But it's just a thought that I've been going through in my mind, thinking about the value of one versus the other.
When you're saying
I have
majority,
no issue with defining what we mean by 2/3.
when you're saying majority votes, that's 7 then, right?
Right. That's a whole
Yeah,
different.
that's a different vote.
That's a whole different debate.
Well, I mean,
That's,
Councilor Barley?
yeah, well, that ship, I think, hopefully sailed, because our rule says 2/3. Now we just want to incorporate into ordinance. Now, if you don't want to vote for it when it comes on the floor, then don't vote for it. That's fine. I think we've sailed past that part of this part. Now we're just getting to the point where we just want, is it 2/3 of the members present or 2/3 of the 13? One or the other. I don't care at this point.
Councilor Vigan?
through the chair, I want to respond to Councilor McGrath Smith a little bit. So in one of the additions that we have here, rather than using seated members, whatever that means, because I don't even know what that means for sure.
President.
It could mean that. It could mean you're elected and you're seated because you're elected. But the definition that was provided to us was of entire body. And that's the language we have on our versions, both of them. And the definition that was provided by one of these versions says, means all currently elected members of the city council currently serving. So that's what entire body would mean. So that would give you your 9. If the committee recommends to council those present, then it's a math calculation, depending who's there, to get to the 2/3.
Right.
That's really the fundamental difference between the two. And I was just saying what it's been historically.
Thank you.
One thought that I have around this is just that I might have felt differently about this in a different era, but because they've extended the ability for meetings to be on Zoom, it really does change what this means, because people can be present.
People should be present.
And people should be present. So I think I feel differently about it now, where like those barriers have been taken down and it's possible for almost anyone in any situation to be present.
Except they might go away in March. We don't know.
There's a bridge
Well,
we'll
that is
cross when we
true.
get there. I think right now for today.
Is there? I had the sense that they were going to be extended. Solicitor, can I ask the solicitor?
Well, I think the state
Well,
legislature
I mean,
likes it, but it's
I was
speculation.
kind of hopeful we could stay on point here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think that I think for me is like that is true. That is a real realization. But I there's a cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
Because right now we've already tabled this item several times.
Right.
We've had various different conversations, various different legal languages. Yeah, I think
Well, what's
it's
the
either.
chair want to do with this? You want the members present, or you
Or
want
they
the,
want the entire
or
body.
you want the 13? I mean, it's one or the other. I mean, 13, I would just say you're consistent every time. That's why I like it.
Then it's 9.
But- and you don't have to think about it.
Magic number.
But-
I actually am in favor of 2/3 present,
Well, then fine.
Okay.
which is for me. I feel like it.
Okay, fine.
Makes more sense.
Then
All right.
let's go with that, and I'm gonna make a motion
I mean,
that,
it's a new day, a new way.
I'm gonna make a motion that the law department.
But everybody better be showing up. I'm sorry.
That's okay. The motion is that the law department puts into legal form, and that we look at that on the 10th as well for the final go around, if you don't mind.
Awesome. Do I hear?
Right, but so the motion is that it would be 2/3 of those present.
Yes.
Yeah, 2/3 of the members present. Okay, whatever. Perfect.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so,
Hey, what do you know? 5-0.
5-0.
yeah, we can agree. We always do. So
We'll figure out ways.
I think we're gonna
We
agree
say
on this
always
one.
or never.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all, and everyone have a good night.
Thank you, Solicitor
You
Bissonnette.
too.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night.